You probably think that eating less and moving more is going to help you lose this belly, right? Well, tell that to this guy, practically starving himself and training in here day after day, and he still can't lose it. Look, you clicked this video because you've had enough. Enough of the oversized t-shirts, enough of the uncomfortable photos, enough of generally feeling like shit. You probably find that your face easily loses weight, your arms tighten up, your chest gets defined, and your legs show shape. Well, that stubborn pouch at the bottom of your belly won't go no matter what you do. Reason number one, as mentioned, lower belly fat has extremely poor blood flow. Multiple studies in metabolic physiology show that stubborn fat regions, particularly the lower abdomen and the love handles here, in men have reduced blood flow compared to other areas. Low blood flow means fewer fat mobilizing hormones reach the area, which affects how easily the body can tap into the energy stored there. This is why this area is always the last place to go. Reason number two, lower belly fat has way less beta receptors and far more alpha 2 receptors. Let me explain what this means. Fat cells have two key receptors, which I've just mentioned. Beta receptors, which activate the release of stored fat when stimulated by catecholamines like adrenaline or noradrenaline. Then there's alpha 2 receptors, which block fat release from within the cell. Now here's the key point. Stubborn fat regions have far more alpha 2 receptors, the ones that block fat release, and far less beta receptors, the ones that stimulate fat release. Your body prioritizes other areas first. So it's not all in your head that this area just won't budge as easily as other areas. It's actually built into our physiology. Reason number three, hormones influence where men store fat. This is so often overlooked, but men with higher cortisol, higher insulin, higher estrogen, and lower testosterone will almost always store more fat around the lower stomach and the sides of the waist. Man boobs and love handles are the classic sign of hormonal chaos, specifically indicating imbalances between estrogen and testosterone. In fact, one well-known study in clinical endocrinology concluded men with lower testosterone levels consistently exhibit greater visceral fat and central fat deposition. High insulin, same story. High cortisol, same story. This is why men often gain fat specifically in this area during stressful periods of their life, and why men over 35, when testosterone naturally begins to decline, notice the lower belly becoming more resistant than ever before. And before they know it, they've got full-blown dad bod. This is not just a willpower problem. You're literally fighting against your own biology, reacting to stress, sleep, poor blood sugar, and hormonal imbalances. Reason number four, evolution and survival biology. Subcutaneous fat in the lower abdomen is a long-term energy reserve. From an evolutionary perspective, belly fat kept men alive during famine. It provided accessible energy during long hunts. It acted as a survival buffer against starvation. We don't face famine today, but your body hasn't updated the software. Evolution hasn't yet caught up. So it holds onto this fat as a last resort reserve, expecting that your next meal might not come for a few days. But in reality, you've got an Uber Eats delivery on the way 10 minutes after finishing your last meal. This is another reason why the stomach is typically the final region to lean out, even when everything else is already defined. Now that we understand the reasons behind why lower belly fat is so stubborn, let's talk about the 7 evidence-based steps to delete it for good. Step 1, I'm going to say it, a consistent calorie deficit, the foundation. Let's get this one out of the way first and foremost. We cannot ignore the fact that a calorie deficit is absolutely essential in the process of dropping body fat from anywhere on the body. Without this, it's never going to happen. Visceral fat and subcutaneous fat respond strongly to sustained negative energy balance. There are countless studies that prove undoubtedly that a calorie deficit remains the primary determinant of reductions in abdominal and visceral fat. In layman's terms, nothing works long-term without this. The problems are, firstly, that most men don't understand how to accurately calculate their calorie set point to achieve a deficit. Secondly, they don't know how to adjust calories as they progress so that they avoid hitting plateaus. And thirdly, they often underestimate the length of time it will take them to lose the amount of fat they want to. So they never really see the process through. And so sure enough, guys will not see the results they are after, and then they say that a calorie deficit doesn't work. But it does every single time, so long as you do it properly. And here's something key to understand. The deficit does not need to be aggressive. In fact, aggressive deficits are often what lead guys to falling off the wagon. They often elevate cortisol, shut down testosterone and thyroid output, and ultimately make them miserable and begging for that next burger and fries. Here's a really simple framework to follow. Follow a 10 to 30% deficit. Track weekly averages, not daily fluctuations. Adjust every 1 to 4 weeks based on progress. Simple, measurable, effective. And if you're unsure about how to accurately find out how many calories you need, then check the link in the description for a full breakdown inside my calorie guide ebook. Now, the problem with just saying a calorie deficit is all you need to lose the belly is that although technically true, in reality, most guys know this and they still fail. And that's because they haven't got certain things in place, which makes the process near impossible. But these other aspects are precisely what we're going to talk about today. Step 2, increase your NEAT. This is one of the most underappreciated tools for stubborn fat loss. NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. But to you, it's basically all of the movement that you do on a daily basis outside of your structured exercise. Walking, standing, fidgeting, and any other general activity. This type of movement actually burns way more calories than most people realize. And it also has positive effects across many different health markers that improve the environment inside the body for fat mobilization. Research consistently shows that NEAT improves insulin sensitivity, reduces abdominal fat, lowers inflammation, and the great thing about NEAT is that the intensity is done at a level that taps into fat as the primary energy source, rather than carbohydrates, which happens at higher intensity levels. I see it time and time again when our members start prioritizing NEAT more, they see rapid progress with lower belly fat. And the good thing is you can really push it without burning yourself out because it's not super stressful on your body or nervous system like really high intensity exercises. Here's a really simple framework that I recommend for guys that I work with. Always set yourself an ambitious step target every single day. Somewhere between 8,000 and 12,000 as a minimum is good, but if you can push higher, then you'll only see more benefits. And if you really want to hack this system and make sure you have no excuse here, get yourself a treadmill desk so you can work and walk simultaneously. Step number 3, strength training for 3 to 5 times per week. Strength training will always be one of the most important foundations for maintaining lower body fat, simply because of what it does for your metabolism. More muscle mass means a higher metabolic rate, even at rest. More muscle means improved insulin sensitivity and improved testosterone. Put all of this together and it basically means the more muscle you have, the more efficient your body is at reducing stubborn fat. Resistance training itself helps to reduce fat while preserving lean mass in a deficit, which is more than what can be said for other forms of exercise like cardio. Think of it like this. If all you do is cardio to lose the belly fat, after a certain period of time, you'll likely have lost weight, all going well. However, without resistance training, some of that weight will likely be muscle tissue, and less muscle tissue means a lower metabolic rate and overall poorer hormonal environment. So the more you lose weight, the less efficient your body is at burning fat because you've lost its tissue. That's why you need to prioritize lifting weights with any form of weight loss program. A program consisting of around 3 to 5 sessions per week, primarily made up of compound lifts like deadlifts, rows, squats, pressing movements, etc. The key here is to always attempt to progress your strength or your reps as often as you possibly can. This is called progressive overload, and by doing this, you'll find that you'll hold on to much more muscle tissue. You also really need to make sure you are training hard and with intent, as you really need to give your body a good reason to hold on to that muscle tissue and prioritize other areas like fat during calorie restricted states. Step 4, zone 2 cardio to improve fat oxidation. Multiple studies, including those published in Sports Medicine and Journal of Applied Physiology, show that fat oxidation, which is basically the final process of turning fat into energy, peaks between 60 and 70% of your VO2 max. In simpler terms, zone 2 is where your body prefers to burn fat as fuel, which is that 60 to 70% max heart rate zone. This is typically things like brisk walking, light cycling, incline treadmill walking, or maybe even light jogging. You want to aim for between 30 and 60 minutes, maybe 3 to 5 times per week. This directly improves mitochondrial fat burning efficiency. The mitochondria are the little fat burning engines that sit inside your cells and are responsible for fat oxidation. Step 5, improve insulin sensitivity and support metabolic health. Men with metabolic health issues like type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance will struggle a lot more to lose stubborn fat. And this is generally because of the hormone insulin. Insulin is a hormone that's primary role is to control blood sugar levels by pulling glucose out of the blood and into the relevant tissues, mainly the liver, the muscles, and of course the brain. But when we have high levels of insulin or frequent insulin spikes, this makes belly fat more stubborn because insulin blocks the mobilization of fat from the fat cell. Now, you do not need to remove carbohydrates from your diet entirely. You simply need to manage them more strategically. Focus on things like higher protein at every meal, like chicken, beef, whey protein, eggs, whole food carbohydrates like fruit and potatoes, carbs placed around training pre and post workout so that your body soaks those carbs up more efficiently. We also need to reduce carbohydrates and sugars in liquids, and we need to increase dietary fiber. This stabilizes blood sugar and creates a hormonal environment more favorable for fat loss. Step number 7, check your internal physiology. Don't guess. Blood work is not optional for men who want to streamline the process of losing the lower belly fat. We routinely see low testosterone, high cortisol, insulin resistance, high triglycerides, suboptimal thyroid markers, elevated inflammatory markers. All of these can slow fat loss specifically in the lower belly. Testing your blood work removes all of the guesswork, so you can correct what's actually holding you back. Common interventions include improving nutrient deficiencies, supporting thyroid function, reducing inflammation, balancing blood sugar, and supporting things like testosterone. No hype, no magic solutions, just addressing the root cause of the issue underneath the surface. Now, here's the thing. Once you apply all of the steps that we've spoken about consistently, here's what happens. Firstly, your hormones stabilize. Secondly, insulin sensitivity improves. Inflammation decreases, cortisol will drop, energy will increase, fat mobilization increases, cardio and NEAT both improve oxidation. Eventually, your body must tap into the back of the storage unit, which is that lower belly fat. And that's when it begins to shift. There's no trick, there's no secret, there's no shortcut. There is simply a process based on biology. So let me finish with this. If you've been struggling with this area, I want you to hear me out. It's not because you're lazy, it's not because you're weak, it's not because you're doing anything wrong. Your biology is simply programmed to protect this area, and we're living in a world where everything is stacked against you. Once you understand that, and once you work with your physiology instead of against it, the results come faster than ever. They come smoother and without the frustration most men experience. And listen, if you want to streamline the process, remove the guesswork and get personalized support using your blood work, training, nutrition, lifestyle, and hormones, then check out Alpha 21 in the description. And if not, simply take what you learned today, apply it consistently, and watch your body change. One final note on what I would regard as the number one tripwire for men who want to cut that stubborn belly fat, and that is patience is always going to be required. Everything that I've spoken about today is going to set your body with the optimal environment to shift the fat. And if you're consistent and you are patient, it will come. But you have to trust the process and show up week after week, doing the work and being patient with your changes because it takes time. So make sure you commit to yourself to see it through all the way to the end. If you found this useful, then please hit subscribe for more videos like this. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comment and I'll get the best answer possible over to you.